wanted to cast you. I think this is the first time.
Yeah, man. We're making esports history right here, Artosis.
So here we are. And we have this bottom left player. I'm going to let you go ahead and tell us who this is, because I think you always do a great job with this.
I have quite an idea. He's a prolific Terran playing for Team Liquid. He is, of course, TaeJa. And a dominant force in Starcraft 2 pretty much forever. Actually, both of these guys have been around for a very long time.
A very long time indeed.
Yeah, and his opponent in top left, representing Team StarTale, he is Life.
Not, you know, considering he's a world champion, not as good of an intro for him as the Terran player.
You know,
does anyone else Nathanius Kappa Terran love?
You know, according to the online forums, it's my job to be as biased for Terran as humanly possible, and I don't want to disappoint those people that get upset at small things all the time.
You would never want to do that. That would be That would be just awful. Well, here we are. It's vertical spawns, okay? And I feel like this is the #1 thing whenever I watch a Deadwing game. Is it vertical spawns or is it not, especially when a Zerg is involved? Tell me why that is, Nathanius.
Well, I mean, as a Terran player, I think shutting down things like the creep spread, setting up a big parade push, especially when you take control of the watchtower, it's very easy to contain a Zerg on 4th base. And normally, like maps like Merry-Go-Round Nimbus, you worry about the 4th of the Zerg. On this map, I think the 5th becomes a really big problem.
Well, taking a 5th here can be quite difficult. Looks like a command center first here from TaeJa. We've really seen that kind of rotate back in the last few months of TvZ. Why would you say that is, Nathanius?
Well, I mean, like a lot of Zergs have just gotten really good at dealing with Reaper play, and there was a good spat where a lot of Zergs would open up with pool first, and Life is certainly no stranger to those types of builds, but it wasn't like super fast cheesy pool. It was catch your Reaper off guard or just be safe against it in case you went for multiple Reapers. So I'm not surprised to see this build. TaeJa's been one of the guys that's kind of okay with doing it, and out of Life, opening up with gas that's kind of his thing, right?
Yeah.
You know, making plays with early speedlings requires that early investment in tech, which can delay things like your 3rd and 4th queen, which can slow down your creep spread as the game goes longer.
Certainly it can. Of course, creep spread going to be a very important part of this match. You know, these spots, I want to actually talk about the map a little bit more in the vertical versus horizontal, or cross spawns.
Yeah.
Because I am of the opinion that if you're cross spawns as Zerg against Terran on this map and you don't take damage for the, you know, in the first like push and a half, I feel like you're massively favored. Do you agree with that?
I really like, if you get cross spawns for Zerg, If you don't take any early damage, especially from any like the weird plays that can happen.
Like the Hellbat push doesn't do you in, and I feel like you're just like, well, you can literally never kill me now. I'm too far away from you.
Even attacks like that are really difficult to pull off on this map because of just the sheer distance you have to go on cross spawns. But this is certainly a favorable position for TaeJa because you also, once you secure your 4 bases, like you're pressing that front area, but you're very close to also being able to send a medevac drop to the side. And because you can, if you get that position, then taking the 5th base, like you can't really move. There's nowhere really to go. And as a Zerg, you not only need that, of course, in the late game, but you need to get your creep spread out. So TaeJa's making a pretty smooth standard transition out of this with the factory. The second gas indicates that we may see a quick starport follow-up or perhaps some tank-based play. I don't think it's bad on this map since most of the time you're looking to get yourself up to 3 bases anyway. And with players like this, I would assume also a pretty quick 4th base. If there's any big aggression, I feel like it would come out of Life, but he's going to get a 3rd base. He's not mining any more gas, and his speed's about to complete, but he hasn't invested too much of his larva into any aggressive forces.
Yeah, not quite yet. I like how he's playing it, though, and I do agree with you. If there's going to be aggression, it should be out of Life here. Like, Life plays the type of style... Remember back when Terrans were actually just making one siege tank blind for a little bit?
Yeah.
I feel like it was because of players that played a little bit like Life. You know, there was enough Baneling busts, there was enough Roach attacks. It's like, okay, give me a siege tank. And while we don't see him doing that here, I think just overall going with the more defensive play, and in fact, I feel like Hellion Banshee is a good way to open up that can be defensive, very good at scouting, pushing, and defending. I think it's smart by TaeJa.
Yeah, the nice thing is that when you open up with Hellion Banshee, if he can poke the front so he can get a read on how many queens there are, but more importantly, if he can send the Banshee into the main or get closer to the natural with abilities like Cloak, he can also get a lot of scouting information without having to use any scans. The biggest thing as his third command center starts up is like how much does he want to commit to this, and that kind of says not quite so much. So I'd be surprised if he did anything like add on an armory, because he's going to go straight for Stim. The Hellions poke. And for TaeJa, this isn't anything suspicious just yet. This is kind of what you expect to see, what you want to see. And it comes also down to information. Life does have an Overlord just south of where the production facilities are for TaeJa, but these Marines kind of pushing away. Has Life seen the Star Report with the Tech Lab? No.
I don't believe so, no. So that could catch him off guard, especially with that Cloak upgrade on the way.
The natural weakness of this is, of course, Life's got his upgrade started a little bit earlier, so as this game progresses forward, the Banshee kind of becomes useless. TaeJa's going to need to make find a couple of nooks and crannies to get in there and make a play. But the Lair's on the way. It's not really the fastest Lair, so we'll probably see a reasonably late Spire. So there is a little bit of room here for TaeJa to play with, and even if he doesn't want to do damage, he can also try to deny the creep spread.
Well, right now we do have the Banshee going up into the main base. There is already a Spore on the way. In fact, 3 Spores on the way, so each mirror line should be able to be protected quite a bit. But the Banshee taking out a Queen already.
Yeah, this is really nice. Like you pick off the 1 queen, so you have to pull one of them back, which means you have to rotate another to your natural. You have less energy that's going to build up on that extra queen for either transfuses or spreading creep tumors later on, and you're keeping the Zerg player a little bit defensive. Like the Baneling Nest is not even halfway done yet, so it's not like even if he could kill these Hellions somehow, he can move out onto the map and get aggressive. And TaeJa's just abusing this because he knows, well, that queen is too low health to actually come and try to contest this position.
Well, even though this has been a successful Banshee harassment so far, and it does in fact continue, which position do you like here out of these 2 players at the moment?
I think with how late this Spire is coming up, like TaeJa still has the aggressive posture, and he's also done a great job of denying creep spread. Like Life hasn't got it past the bottom of his ramp. Now he's starting to spread a lot of tumors because TaeJa's focusing on his Banshee micro. But outside of that, the one weakness that TaeJa does have is he focuses a lot on these small things, and as we can see, his resource count climbs quite substantially. A denial on this Spire would be like game-changing, though.
Seriously, that is just going to be a great pickoff. It looks like he's going to get it, too.
That's a really big deal. That Spire tech is what's going to shut down the drops. And look, 2 medevacs are on the way. Stim is done. This Banshee's going to die, but TaeJa's already gotten everything that he needs out of that. His armory is kicking off, so he's getting himself set up. The one advantage, like I kind of mentioned a little while ago for Life, is that he got his upgrade so much faster. So there's this very short window where he has the 1-1, but it's not as big of a deal defensively because the medevacs are still going to be a problem. The mobility of the Force and not being able to catch those medevacs is what gives TaeJa an advantage.
Yeah, I got to say, those Banshees really were quite fantastic there. But you know what? He's going to have Baneling speed pretty quickly. His creep spread isn't like the greatest thing I've ever seen, but against a Banshee Hellion opening, it's not going to be normally. So I feel like Life is still in an okay spot here. He's kind of a scrappy Zerg. He knows what to do in a position like this.
Yeah. The tricky part for him, like, it's nice that he has Baneling speed finishing up as he's starting to get a few Banelings, but this creep's going to get denied. And this is that forward position we were talking about earlier. These Zerglings come up, but your Spire got delayed, so you can just pick up and get away. And shutting down the active tumors is the most important thing here, because once all of these factories finish up, once all of his barracks add-ons are ready, he gets combat shield, he can choose whether or not he wants to try to immediately lock down a 4th base or just keep this massive push coming. But once he gets the Thor up front, that's going to make it really difficult for Mutalisks to pick anything off and force this back. But Life, these counterplays, these Zerglings on the right side, he's going to try to make a bit of a move.
Well, we'll see what he can do. Right now, he actually is pushing forward right now. Ooh, some good Baneling connections there. Not very normal for TaeJa to let that slip up like that, but still, he has a lot of Hellbats, and he's pushing forward very strongly.
Yeah, stepping towards the 4th. The Baneling's moving onto the Hellbats at the same time. A nice counterattack towards the 3rd base. TaeJa closed off the wall to his natural expansion, but he has killed all the Banelings in Life's base, and the Marines being able to move forward now on top of this, with the upgrades now being equalized, 2-2 is just barely not done yet. It's still a bit of a frustrating position for Life, and especially if he loses any Mutalisks here. So he forces him back. The counterattack with the Zerglings is really nice. The fact that he didn't breach the natural or get on top of the production allows TaeJa to recover a bit more easily, I think, than he otherwise would.
Well, right now it looks like TaeJa trying to stand his ground right here against Mutas, actually picking off a couple Mutas there. A little bit sloppy by Life, trying to punish these medevacs, but not really able to do so.
Yeah, so 2-2 finishes up, and we talk about TaeJa making little slip-ups. He wasn't this far behind in upgrades when both players were getting the +1. So he finds himself with a solid 2 minutes where these +2 attack upgrades aren't going to be ready. So Life can trade a bit better with his Zerglings, but with Blue Flame Hellbats, like, the upgrades for those are much more important, and those units are the ones that can really clean up the link. So most interested in only 7 Banelings on the map. This presents a really big opportunity for TaeJa. Some of these Marines running up front and taking some big hits, though. The Zergling numbers are quite nice.
And it looks like he's going to be able to surround this army quite easily indeed, and it is going to have to turn around and run home. Those 2-2 upgrades definitely paying off, as well as some nice macro from Life, and he's taking a pretty significant lead. GG, and a sudden victory from Life.
Yeah, really great use of, it seems weird to see a Terran with so few, a Zerg player with so few Banelings defensively, but completely shutting down the economy.